special way. Should the Latin Mass be reinstated? Now, you got to ask me something like that. That's a controversial question, obviously. But, you know, I try to give you my best understanding of the Church's teaching. You know, sometimes, hey, you ask an honest question. There's nothing wrong with that. You deserve an honest answer, even if it's, you know, you're asking me for a personal opinion. You know, the doctrine of the faith, you ask me a question like, are there three divine persons in the one God? And that's a theological question, which is easy. You know, I give you a theological answer, three divine persons, one God, and so forth. That's an easy one. And that's what most of what I do is about. But should the Latin Mass be reinstated? Have the changes, second part of the question, have the changes of Vatican II been abused? Well, I think, let me answer the second one first. Vatican II was a good thing. Vatican II in itself was a great blessing on the Church. It was a movement of the Holy Spirit. I have read all 16 of the major documents of the Second Vatican Council several times in several languages, and I find nothing in there that's wrong, that's not good. But has it been abused? Yes, it has been abused quite frequently. But that doesn't mean the council itself was wrong. I think God permitted that to test the Church, to shake people's faith. So have the changes been abused? Yes, quite frequently they have, and severely so at times. But the council itself was a good thing, if only we just obey it. If we just do what the Church says, you'd see how great a thing it is. Now, should the Latin Mass be reinstated? Now, Latin is the official language of the Latin Rite. Imagine that. Yeah, the Western Church, you know, which many of us are members are, Latin Rite. Latin is the official language. But we know that Vatican II, the use of the vernacular, local languages, was permitted in the liturgy. Now, what do I think personally about this? And you don't have to agree with me. My personal experience, my personal opinion, I think Latin's a good thing. I think it's a beautiful language. I'm not against it. I think that when it's used, see, I'm old enough to have seen both ways. And a lot of people forget, you know, in the chaos of the present moment, everybody harkens back to the good old days. Well, I got news for you, they weren't that good. They weren't that good. Because a lot of priests used to vie with one another and who could say Sunday Mass in Latin the fastest, and they do it in 15 minutes, the Tridentine Rite. Frequently it happened. And what did you get out of that? No more than you get out of the Mass in English, that's for sure. Latin is a good thing. It's a beautiful language. Could be used in the liturgy. I'm not against it. English, French, Spanish, you know, Chaldean, can also be used in the liturgy with great reverence. The language is not what's important. The essence of the Mass is what's important, and the disposition of the people assisting at Mass is what's important. It's true that certain liturgical rites seem to lend themselves more to reverence. And I'm not against people who prefer the Latin Mass. I'm not against it. But what I found with the general population, unless you instruct them carefully and assiduously, they have difficulty. I've studied myself quite a bit, and I've studied many languages, including Latin. And I've said Mass in Latin, and I appreciate it, and it's very beautiful. If you ask me what language do you pray in, I say, well, I pray in English. You know, that's my native language. I don't have a gap. Like when I pray, I try to pray from the heart. If I talk to God you know, I talk to them in the language I understand best. Now, I can speak some Spanish, you know, but I don't talk to God in Spanish. Some of you do, you know, and that's fine. And that Spanish or English, one isn't better than the other for talking to God. You know, it's the heart. Where's your heart? That's what matters. And so I don't think that that will solve anything. You can be irreverent in any language. You can be irreverent or disinterested in just about any language. Having said that, I admit that very frequently we've had abuses. But that's the fault of the people involved. I'll tell you what, when I say Mass, nobody abuses anything. I don't allow it, you know, and I'm not disrespectful or irreverent when I say Mass. Now, there are people who would say I am, and they'll say I'm a heretic because I don't say Mass in Latin. That's wrong. That's just wrong. You know, they say Pope John Paul II was a heretic. He said Mass in many languages, and I'll assure you he's a saint and will be canonized as such. So what's in the heart? And just do it right.